Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning.
Good morning.
So cool.
It is.
We're at
How's
the end
everything?
of 2021.
We are.
Is that amazing or what?
It's awesome, actually. It's just endings just mean new beginnings. So I think it's an awesome place we're in.
Right. And that really, I mean, for our experiences the last 2 years, and we've come this far and we're still kicking it. That's pretty good.
Well, and I feel like all those experiences have promoted the shift. That has given us things to we all seem to want to move through things when things aren't seem to be difficult, or we don't like the way things look, or it just feels out of control. So we try to find ways of controlling it a lot of ways, I think. But it's just an awesome, I always say it's awesome, but everything's just an awesome place where we're at. It just depends on how we're looking at it, right?
Yeah. And when you say we're as humans, we're in the business of controlling things. How's that working out for you? Just
It don't.
wondering.
Yeah. It don't. That don't work out at all.
It's pretty damn exhausting, actually.
It is. But if we can sit back and witness it, or have an awareness to it, or be like, oh, well, just as simple as looking at a menu, well, I want that, but I don't want that. Without putting so much energy into it, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so we're coming to the end of this year, but still have the energies, right? So depending on where your energy is and what you're focused on, being mindful, are you going to, is it an energy you want to continue and move into this new year with? Some yes, some no, right? So those ones that you're going to look at and go, no, I really don't want to bring this into the next year. Then do some clearing around that and get yourself set up for, you hear it said this way, get yourself set up for success when you're starting a new chapter, right? And so that might be clearing some old belief systems, maybe changing some habits, changing some patterns, clearing some energy in your space. In your space could be whatever in your entire home, really, or the home that you spend the most time, in the room that you spend the most time in your vehicle, in your work environment, like your desk. If there's a lot of clutter, what can you do to kind of clear that up a little bit, feel a little more organized, and allowing that fresh new energy to flow in.
Yeah. And sometimes if you don't know where to start, it's like for me, something simple for me that I do often is asking my higher self or my universal team, I really want this energy cleared up in my house. I want it to feel better, and I don't know where to begin. Where do I begin? And it's like, then you receive those impulses or the intuitive insight, or just like an urge to do something. And it's next thing you know, you've done all these things, and it's like, wow, this feels so much better. It's just simple things. It's not putting so much pressure on yourself to constantly always be doing something, but it's like, or having all the answers, because we don't have all the answers. And sometimes we're just freaking tired. So changing in perspective, I noticed I woke up in the middle of the night. Of course, I ate a heavy meal, heavier for me, because I don't usually eat heavier in the evenings anymore. I usually eat earlier because I don't, I feel like that our body has to do too much work, and it takes us away from our intuitive, our clarity, our, everything. So it's like, I don't want it to work so hard. So with that being said, I noticed I did eat we ate a little bit later, and I ate not a huge portion for me in my past days, but it was a bigger portion, a heavier meal. And I noticed when I woke up a couple of times that I felt heavy. Like when I say I felt heavy, I felt dense. My energy felt heavy. I didn't feel, my thoughts weren't satisfactory. I wasn't waking up feeling like great. Oh, I get to go into meditation, or I started worrying about money, or all these little things started happening. And then it's like, wait a minute. It's like, okay, well, I wonder how I get out of this. And before, in the past, I would have stayed in that place because I didn't know how to get out of it unless I found something outside of myself. Maybe it was a post on Facebook or a YouTube or whatever, something outside of myself that would bring me that joy. And then I started recognizing, wait a minute, I'm not appreciating all the things that are in my life. I'm not appreciating my higher self. I'm not appreciating my universal team. Like all these things I asked for, like I was just telling you a few minutes ago, to ask for these things, but I wasn't appreciating. Within a matter of minutes, just of me appreciating my higher self and God and my universal team and my family and all the experiences that I have, the views that, all these things, I felt so freaking amazing. I felt lighter. I felt happier. So it wasn't, I could have stayed in that place and then felt that denseness, but I didn't have to. That's the thing. And maybe it's something that I learned from somebody else that hey, if you eat this late or you eat this kind of food, it's going to create a heaviness. I don't think that it has to. So again, it goes back to the energy. I tell people to, it's not saying a prayer over your food, but it's appreciating that food. So it's back to the whole thing with appreciation. It's taking that time before I even take a bite of it and putting so much love into what I'm going to drink or eat, that this is exactly what my body needs. And then I won't have that heaviness, but that takes me back to, I wasn't appreciating even the food that I was eating. So it's such a, when you start creating this awareness, you have an awareness of like, even where it began, where it even started from, without having to dig for it, without looking for it. It just presented itself to me. It's awesome.
It is awesome. And you listened.
Yes.
This is something that we, most of my life I've been a good listener because I was quiet and introverted. And so to sit in a room and just listen, I'm really good at that. It's the people, but what I have noticed, let me put it this way, what I have noticed is that when I am talking a lot, like let's say in a class, I'm doing a lot of talking because I feel like there's a lot of material to cover, information to share, right? Exercises to get through. And I'm just, that I'm not as tuned into listening to what the students are saying, because my mind's reeling about, okay, well, I gotta do this next, right? And it's like, and we get into that space, and just as in general conversations, we have so much going on in our head that we don't, we're more focused on what's going on in our brain and more focused on what our answer is going to be, instead of really tuning in and listening to what that other person is saying. And that includes the universe, right? Like you say, universal team is speaking to you saying, you know what, here's a technique, do it. And you could have went to something else, but instead you were like, oh, okay, let me just be with this for a moment, because I'm going to listen to what's being presented to me. So listening is huge when it comes to our personal growth.
For everything, like even for our body. So an example is the other night I was like, well, instead of me saying, I wonder what my body needs or my hair needs in order for it to be this or that, I said, what does my body want? And the crazy thing is, so it's in the middle of the night, one of those times I had to get up to go to the bathroom. So that's opportunity for meditation. I go into this place and I'm like, well, what does my body want? What does my hair want? Because I want it to be the thickness and everything else, because something changed. And what comes forward for me? Gelatin. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And then I start reading about it and how it is so beneficial for the skin and the hair and the nails, all this stuff. And I was like, just plain gelatin. It wasn't, doing something. It wasn't doing biotin. It wasn't anything else. It was gelatin. I was like, that is so, and I know that's an answer for me, because that's not, I would never have thought that. But I wouldn't have been aware of that before. I asked the questions all the time, but I wasn't listening for the answers. And it's like the answers are always there. And it was so obvious. I actually heard the word. So, I mean, it was so obvious. And I like that we share all these things. And I like to listen to podcasts, because then I get an experience, like even with my experience that I'm sharing right now, I heard it. Sometimes I'll see something. Sometimes I'll feel it. Sometimes I'll smell it. Sometimes I'll pick up energy about something. It's just so weird. I just let you know that we're all capable of this. And unless you hear these kind of things, you don't know what is possible. And that's why I was going to say, I love listening to the podcast. I love listening to other people's experiences, because it's like, oh, I never even thought that was possible. I'm listening to this guy this morning, and he's talking about from, I think he was age of 9 years old, that he started seeing his past lives. He was remembering them. He was saying how how very much it was distracting and stuff. Because here he is, a young 9, 12-year-old boy, and he's in school, and all of a sudden he sees pyramids, but he starts seeing everything as if it's different than the way it was. So it was like it caused a lot of distraction, but it's like that's, to me, just created a possibility that now I don't have to go get a past life regression. Not necessarily, I'm not saying, but because he can remember, he can remember. So that means to me, I can remember. So that's why I love that we share the things that we experience, because it's such a possibility for everybody else. It's such a possibility of not staying in that same stagnant place any longer.
And we can tap into all information, knowledge, wisdom, energy, love of the universe. We can. It's all available to us, past, present, and future. Listening is one main issue. And then like you could have questioned, like, gelatin? Really? I don't think so. This isn't right. Right. And you could have gone into your head and did all, because I've done the same thing. I've done it with vitamins. I'm like, was my body, I've said need, what does my body need? What vitamins would my body need right now? Maybe I'll start changing it to want. And just listening. And it's like, okay, well, you need some iron. Okay, great. So I'll go get iron and, take one a day. Okay. So I follow the instructions and take one a day, but I can feel like something is off. So I'll sit with it. What do I do with this iron vitamin supplement, right? Every 3 days. Oh, okay. Every 3 days. And that's been working out great. So,
nice.
Similar is to what is good for me and the way my body is functioning. And, recently I had a conversation with an assistant to a doctor I'm going to go see. And he was asking me questions. Well, what kind of, are you taking any medications? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, I'm taking some vitamins. And he tells me, okay, which ones are you taking? I said, and I mentioned magnesium. And it was just his reaction. He's like, why are you taking magnesium? It was kind of like what the hell are you doing that for? And in my brain, I was like, well, my body asked for it. It's like, but I didn't tell him that. I was like, how am I going to explain this to this guy who's already feels like his energy is like off-putting,
Yes.
So I didn't need to explain myself. I said, because I am. That's the way it is, right? And really, exactly. I don't have to explain myself to somebody about it. So unless like I'm talking to the doctor and the doctor says, okay, let's go over what this is for. And then let's see if this is really something you want to continue taking, right? Or are you getting it through other ways? Like I'm going to start, I just recently started doing a protein shake. So with a greens powder mix with it. And so, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to get from that, I can cut back on the vitamin supplements I'm using. And so it's that harmony of the intake and listening and being flexible and making adjustments. But again, it's just listening, right? Yeah. But not getting and allowing yourself to sit with it and sit with what information am I receiving? Do I need to do more research? Does this just feel good to me right now? The way it's the way I'm receiving it. Do I need to seek professional guidance about this, right? And within yourself how the information is resonating with you, and you keep asking questions. This is what we've been talking about for several weeks now, is you keep asking questions to your universal team through your spiritual guidance. What's next? What else do I need to know? What else? Is there anything else that I need to know about this? Right. And we start asking questions like that. And like we said, you're going to have a conversation with somebody out of the blue. You're going to have a conversation. A book's going to be handed to you. Something's going to show up to provide the information you're seeking because you asked.
And sometimes that's the only way you can hear, is if you overhear a conversation, because that's how it was for me before.
Yeah.
And then if you forget to take a pill that day, it was because your body didn't need that pill that day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you forget to do something, it's because that was something that needed to be, you didn't forget, you didn't do anything wrong. That is exactly how it was supposed to be. And that's an awareness too. We just have gotten into these places that, we feel like we're doing something wrong, or maybe not all the time. I'm not in that place like I was before, but I mean, that's where it started. I would feel like I was doing something wrong. Like, oh my God, and that feeling of, oh my God, it would like hit your body so hard.
Yeah.
Which is something else. I'm listening to something last night, and it talks about, everyone keeps talking about, you got to feel your feelings, right? You got to feel your feelings. And she said, because she was seeing some counselor, this person was, and psychiatrist, and they kept telling her that, they didn't break it down. And it's like, feeling your feelings was feeling how it shows up in your body, not using your brain and going through the whole process of, this happened to me, so this is how it affected me, and this is how I'm reacting to it. It had nothing to do with that. It just was the going into the body and feeling it and noticing that where it's, pains. That's what they were saying. Most likely it's a pain showing up in your body, and it's going to that space and listening to that space, listening to it. And sometimes that's all that needs to be done. And if it's not going away, because from my experience, most of the time, if I was to acknowledge that pain, like, then it's gone. And then now I'm at another pain in my body. It's like it chased one away. And not always do I get an answer, but just like a child, it needs to be seen and heard, because it's important. It's valuable. It's as valuable as everything else you've put your intention into, or everyone else, everything else. Like, there's just so many things that were distractions from ourselves before. And now this pain is just kind of bringing you back to your space. Why I jumped right into this place, I don't know, but that's where it's part of the listening and feeling of the body and everything else. But it's important. It's important because I don't want people to be lost. Well, it doesn't matter what I want, but I would like to present a different idea so that they're looking at these things and instead of being like, feel my emotions, feel these things. What the hell does all that even mean? Because that can mean so many different things from one person to the next, because our perspectives are so different. Our experiences are so different. I mean, there's just been so many things that are different in our lives. So it's always, we may say the same things in different ways, but it's a presentation to someone else so they can hear it. So that it makes a difference in their world. So whoever's going to watch this, it's for them, because they'll hear it this way, this time.
And you're the way you hear your body speaking to you is gonna be different than the way I hear my body speaking to me. Right? It's just
Yes.
two different relationships.
Yes.
In general, there's a general understanding of what our body is saying. However, the experiences, if we both have a pain in our neck, the experience that is creating that pain in my neck and the experience that's creating the pain in your neck is probably gonna be two completely different scenarios. And so sitting with that and recognizing that this situation, the way I'm viewing it is manifesting in my body through this discomfort that I'm experiencing. But since I'm going to sit with it and listen to my body and recognize, wow, I got a lot of stress in my body. It's creating this discomfort in my neck, and the people that or situation that I'm perceiving through this experience that is causing this stress. What is it I'm learning about that? What is it that's contributing to the stress that I'm experiencing in my body? But a lot of times, because we're so fast paced and we're on the go and we're so in our heads, we don't take the time, like listening, but we don't take the time to really tune in and go, wow, I really am stressed. Because we're so accustomed to being stressed. Like that's almost, I mean, that was my natural state of being for many, many years. until I recognized what actual feeling relaxed and calm felt like. And I wouldn't have noticed that unless I would have tuned into my body and recognized it. And so feeling the emotion, like you can feel sad, but typically with that sadness, you're not relaxed, you're stressed. Right? Feeling guilt, you're not relaxed, you're stressed. So if you think about any of the lower vibrational emotions, you can almost guarantee with every one of them, there is a level of stress associated to it. Whereas if we are in higher vibrational emotions, like excitement, you've seen kids where they're like, ah, they're so excited, but their body's tense. That's a moment in time of being tense with excitement, with high vibration excitement, right? High vibration emotion. Whereas the difference of where I'm angry and I'm just like, oh, like I could just, even just doing that, I could feel a complete different sensation in my body from an angry type of stress than an excited type of tension. Right. And my body, like I went up and I went down with between the two. And so, yeah, the body has a lot to say. We are oblivious because we weren't raised to acknowledge that piece of us. I mean, really, if we think about it, I mean, I wasn't taught to honor my body as a female. Right? We're told, don't do this, don't do that, don't get pregnant, keep your legs closed and all these things, but we weren't taught, or I wasn't taught to embrace, because I know, when you start developing as a female in their puberty, you're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? Being an only child, I didn't really have that guidance and the openness of conversation in our family. So it was for many, it's more of a scary thing than honoring it. So yeah, listening to the body is huge at any age.
It really is.
When a baby's hungry, they're listening to their body and they're screaming, right? They don't have a way of communicating other than crying and until they get what they want.
Yeah. It's important. It's important to recognize when you're on autopilot. So autopilot, you're back to you're just working from the past. You're working from old tools, old downloads, training, however you want to refer to it. It's old stuff. It's not serving you anymore. And taking the time to listen. And if you're not listening to yourself, because our bodies are an antenna. It's an antenna. It picks up on everything, but really on everything. And the more we become in tune with this vehicle that we're in this lifeline, the more that we're aware of everything. It's like you won't take things personal when someone's having an experience and it feels like it's being an attack on you, but you'll recognize it's not an attack on you. This is just a person that's still moving through a lot of emotions and victimhood and trauma and a lot of stuff that's going on there. So it's like it just really is important for us to listen to the body, because the body gives us so much information. Gosh, it makes me think of an octopus, because an octopus, they have their tentacles and everything going out to feel everything. If we would do that more often, we would recognize. I'm in a conversation with someone the other day, and it's like I'm recognizing, because I'm paying attention, that this person really is draining me. Like and it's not because that's kind of a rough way of saying it, but that's how it felt. Because I know it's not true. That means I was giving energy to this person. It wasn't the person that was sucking energy out of me, but it was awareness of myself. And I was like, wait a minute. So I just kind of stood back a little bit. I didn't stop the conversation with the person. And I just started focusing on my energy going higher. I'm raising my vibrational frequency, whatever works for you. I'm still partially listening to this conversation, but at this point I got to pull back into myself because at that time I needed to give myself energy. I noticed that I was giving energy to this person. And it was almost like I couldn't get out the door, I couldn't leave because I kept feeling that desire to leave. And it's like, we've talked about before, and I've heard other people say, I think I've even heard Abraham Hicks talk about this, that when you think you're in such a high vibration, and then all of a sudden in that situation, I noticed that my vibration felt like my energy was being taken. That means I was never in that high vibration. I was never in that high vibration that I thought I was, because if I was, it wouldn't be me trying to maintain this vibration. It would have been the flow of the vibration through me. Nothing would be taken from me. I wouldn't be giving away anything. I would be flowing, and I wasn't flowing then until I recognized that. And that was just me slowing down enough to listen. I wasn't on autopilot like I've been so many times that I even have talked to other people. You leave a room and you feel like, good Lord, I don't even know what happened, but man, I need a nap right now. I need some sugar. You're thinking about all these things you could possibly need right that moment. And it's as soon as you recognize what's going on, then you can self-correct instead of being on the autopilot, instead of being pulled down that old pathway that you would have gone. My tendency was to always dip into someone's energy because I always wanted them to feel comfortable with where they were at.
Yes.
At the sacrifice of myself.
Yes.
And so I think that a lot of us have done that, and it's like we don't realize it because I didn't want someone to feel bad, probably because I never wanted to feel bad. But when you're in that space, that's where you go back to the same things that Abraham would say. You can't grieve enough for someone else to help them. You can't be poor enough to help the poor. You cannot be, there's all that. You can't be angry enough to help someone that's angry. You can't help them from that space. But when we maintain our own high vibration and we're not affected by that stuff, we're not advertising for their anger or their sadness or their needs. We're not advertising for that stuff. We're flowing this great divine love that can flow through us at all times.
And we can set our intentions when we know we're going into interaction with others, whether it's in person or on the phone or through Zoom. We can set our intentions, and really something I do every day is I observe my body. I tune into it, and the four levels of emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual states. I want to know how I'm doing, so that when I am stepping out into energies of others, then I'm aware, is this my stuff coming into my body or is it not? Right? Is this somebody else's I'm picking up on? Do I feel like somebody's draining me? Do I need to raise my vibration up a little more? And just coming back to listening to our own energy on those four levels, because we can also, like in a mental way, if you can, I know it can be very easy for me. I'm getting really a lot better at it. But if somebody starts having negative type of mindset and that's what they're speaking, that, like you're saying, you dip down into that energy and you join that conversation. Well, then I've just lowered my energy into that space. Physically, if somebody is having some physical issues and I'm in their space and I start feeling it in my body, okay, that's not mine. And I know it's not mine. So, universe, you can take this out now because this is mine. It doesn't feel good. And also recognizing, am I dipping down into their feeling sorry for themselves? Right. And feeling like the fixer of trying to change the way they're viewing their circumstances. Spiritually, to me, that's those high vibrational emotions. That's that love I have for myself. That's that being mindful and aware of me. And am I in tune with the spiritual guidance that is readily available to me? Or am I getting into my human side of ego and saying, oh, I got this. I don't need anybody's help. I know you said gelatin, but you know, I think y'all are crazy. Gelatin is not going to work for me. That's crazy talk. Right. And the universe is constantly giving us messages every single, like thousands of messages every single day. And am I in tune to that? Am I allowing that? Am I open to that? A growth mindset is saying, you know what, I'm open to the information. I'm open to hearing it. Doesn't mean I need to take action on every piece of information I get, or on somebody else's opinion based on their viewpoint, based on their experiences. But I'm open to hearing some of it, maybe not all of it, because it depends on the energy and the way it's being delivered. So it's a very mindful exercise to be aware of yourself.
It is. There's, it's, you're talking about some of these things and I'm remembering, you're talking about the energies and stuff. And I'm remembering there's certain people, these psychics that are on TV and stuff like that, that I have listened to for years and years and years. I am finding it very difficult to listen to them lately. And it's because I'm feeling the energies of them. There's some of it's so heavy, like it's so, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to even describe it. It's like, if I was on autopilot, I'd still be listening to all that stuff, but I'm paying more attention to myself. And it's like, just like music, I've talked about that recently, that there's so many, I would love to find something that I can listen to all the time, because there's not anything I can listen to all the time. Half the time I don't have anything on. We might have some spa music or some higher vibrational hertz sounds and stuff like that. But it's like, I find I feel like I'm in a strange place these days, because some of these people, because I have access to them on YouTube and stuff, and I've been listening to them, and it's like, oh my God, I cannot listen to this anymore. And I wouldn't have known that until I started listening to my body, till I started hearing the energy that I was feeling. It's not because these people are bad. And I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that at all. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, the way they're bringing maybe it's how they're coming to the table to bring forward this information. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. And then I go to the aspect of when we're dipping into someone else's information or into their energy, we're not, and that's probably what I was doing, even watching these people, we're not paying attention to ourselves. So now that I'm finding my place and being like, I appreciate that this is showing up right now, so that I can, because you're helping me see me. You're helping me see me, and this is not something that I want in my experience any longer. And then our vibration goes higher, and the higher my vibration goes when we are listening to other people, and we're not dipping down into them, we're maintaining our vibration. We see so much potential of solutions. Like, there's so much solutions. And then I've noticed, because I do it all the time in my massage, as soon as I'm recognizing these things, and now I'm bringing forward this information that I don't think about, it just comes right through me, and I give them other ideas or other options, or I get to see things from a higher perspective. Higher doesn't always seem, it's from a different perspective. I can bring forward information. And then it's like, it almost immediately, you change the other person's energy from being in that space of impossibility to everything is possible. Like, I've seen it shift so many freaking times. It's amazing to me, but I have an awareness of it now. I can see when it's happening, and I can see what a person needs, or I can't even say needs. When they come in, they have an energy about it. If I was to sit and break it down when they came in, I don't know that I could break that down immediately. But as soon as I start opening my mouth to say something, like, all this information flows out, and I have no idea why I'm saying half the stuff I'm saying. And then until I receive the confirmation, because I see the look on their face, I feel their energy, or they just kind of just break down and let everything go right there. It's like they didn't have to hold on to this stuff anymore, because we get to see them. And that's what's so valuable about being in a high vibration, because we get to see the person, the child. Mm-hmm. Because if we can see them as a child, we're a little bit more patient with them. Just like if you see a puppy, you're a little bit more patient with the puppy versus the adult dog that just did the same thing the puppy did. Right. That's not okay. There's just different things that we appreciate more. But if we can see them in that innocence, that childlike space that they don't even know where to go from where they're at right that moment, but maintaining that high vibration is so valuable. It's so much more important to me that I can be, then now I'm of value to that person, because now I just gave that person a different perspective. And that's, to me, that's all that we really is required of us. It's just like being at the grocery store and I could smile at you and give you a different perspective instead of the person that walked by and didn't want to make eye contact or whatever was happening, regardless of that person's mood or energy or emotions.
Yeah, when again, it's listening to the energy when you're in the space of someone else. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be a coaching session. It could just be a general, like a party, or just somebody stopping by to say hi. Like, I can tune into their energy and I know, like, that's the indicator. Does this feel good? Does it not feel good? Do I want to continue this conversation? Is it dragging me down? Can I raise myself up? Maybe play with it. If you're in that space to recognize how you're doing, is to play with the energy of yourself while in conversation with somebody else. Don't be rude. Be part of the conversation. Hold on just a second. I got to tune into my energy. And maybe we need to start doing that collectively. It's just, we're having a conversation. You know what, Bev, give me just a second. I need to tune into this conversation and see if this is something I want to continue. Right?
Yeah, or else taking a break, because as you're saying this, I'm thinking about, well, I need to go to the bathroom real quick, and go into the bathroom and get yourself, however it works, get yourself in a higher vibration, and then go back and see how that conversation changed. Because that's playing, right?
Yeah.
And it's also paying attention to the body, because when you're tired, you're probably not in a place of playing.
Right.
So when you're tired, it's like, I gotta go. I need to get some rest, or what I mean, whatever. I don't like to say need, but it's showing me how often I say it though. And because I believe when you say the word need, you're constantly in a space of need. So my body wants a little bit of rest for a few minutes, or what I mean? Maybe it's just even sitting in your vehicle for a few minutes and then coming back inside, being in a different space. Because it's just, again, that goes back to being aware. If you're aware of your energy and you're recognizing, because I know if I'm in town too long and I've gone to 4 or 5 different grocery stores or, different places, by the time I'm done, I'm done. But
Right.
if I, like we talked about, if I would have set my intentions, if I would have maintained my vibration, I wouldn't feel any of those things.
Yeah.
So that's where meditation for me could be sitting in the vehicle, taking some deep breaths. It might be for me right now, as I recognize how much just appreciating the things that were in my life that way, all the things that were positive and that's flowing so well for me, that changed my vibration so quickly.
Yeah.
And I like to feel things. So for me, it's even like, okay, I'll say 5th dimension, 7th dimension. And then I just wait and see, how does that feel in my body? So to me, that's a meditation, because now I've gone with inside just to go feel, and I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break from this outside stimulus or stimulation.
And we can going back to the session with people that, they're coming to you to get some kind of relief, some type of reprieve from what they've been experiencing in their body. As a massage therapist, your intention is to help release that tension. So with me, when people come to me for coaching, is they're seeking some other avenue than the avenue they've been trudging along for so long, right? They just know now it doesn't feel good, but they don't know what that looks like. They don't know what other direction. They just know they've heard of Amie Wade, an emotional resiliency coach. She's got this class, whatever. I'm going to see what it's about. And so it's that spiritual guidance, guiding them to go see Beverly for a massage, or guiding them to a class or a coaching with myself, or angel card reading. And like, we don't know. I mean, I did an angel card reading yesterday. I don't know. I've never met this lady. She lives in Missouri. And, doing, when the cards come up, tuning in, having a conversation with her, not telling her, what, well, I'm going to tell you everything about your life. But that's not the way I operate. I want to interact with you. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to see you. right? She showed up on Zoom, but had her camera off. I'm like, hey, do you have a camera? Can you turn your camera on so I can see you? And, and it changes the energy when you can see somebody. And then the card's coming up and I'm seeing the words, but the words for her and the words for me and the words for you are all going to mean something different. Same words, completely different stories to every one of them. And that is a listening. That's the intuitive guidance that we receive. And so we bring forth information because we can tune into their energy, that there's something going on, there's something happening in your life, or something you've been hanging on to from a life experience. And I can sense that. And you and I have this ability to tap into that energy to help it surface so that they can feel a sense of relief through the moment of tears. It's like a kind of like a finally somebody who can hear me, or somebody who can help me understand this. And being that person to help draw that stuff out of them when they don't know what to do with it. They have it, but they don't know what to do with it. And I know we were in that space for a very long time as well. Like, I got all this crap in me, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So
Helping unpack all that garbage.
yeah, right.
All that you have, all those boxes you have packed away in that attic.
Yeah.
It's
Very
freeing.
All that energetic storage that doesn't feel good, but you're still got those boxes stacked on top of one another and in the container, but that container is like wanting room for something bigger, better, greater, more gooder.
Yeah.
More exciting, more fun, more relaxed, more calm. But it's unpacking the boxes to release that stuff so you can make room for it. And that's something we want to do when we're moving into the new energy of a new year.
Yeah.
And there's so much hype about, oh, it's a new year. Lately it's been new year, new you. Well, how about new energy? Stay me, new energy. Same me, less stress. Same me, more calmness, right? Same me, new interests. So just recognizing that it's that you have stuff in you, and there's layers and layers and layers. It's like you're not going to all unpack all this in 3 days, just saying. But you can at least recognize immediately the stuff that doesn't feel good, and you can look at those pieces for now. And then as time goes by and stuff surfaces, more boxes get opened, that you can then look at that stuff. It would be way too overwhelming to do it all right now. Way too overwhelming.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's like,
be like, give me a freaking bottle of alcohol because I'm tired.
That's right. I was going to say, it's just like a hoarder, because when you're saying all those boxes, a lot of us had been that way in our lives. You keep storing all this shit in all these boxes, and it's like, next thing you know, you're walking around and it's like, all you can see is mountains of boxes everywhere. And you just got to take it one thing at a time. It's just one box at a time. And then it's like feeling that emotion of that at that time. And that emotion, like we go back to that, feeling that emotion just is feeling inside the body, feeling where this pain's at, just being aware of that pain, asking what it wants. What does it want to tell you? What does it want you to see? Asking yourself, what's the best way to move through all this? What's the best way? Because it's the best way for me. Just because we have ideas of things that we've gone through, those things may not even resonate with you. And when I say resonate, it may not even be something that you have a spark of desire to even want to do. You may not feel any of those things. So it's like asking what works best for you, because then you get to go and explain to someone else, this is what worked for me. I learned these ways, but this is what worked for me. because we're helping all of us to move along to the next level. If we want to call it levels, we're helping them move on to the next disc. We're helping them move to a higher vibration. We're helping whatever. It's we're all assisting each other because we're all connected. And people come into your experience because they're, number one, mirroring stuff to you, and that might have been the old ways that you had to handle things, but now you get to look at it and be like, man, I used to be like that. This is what works for me. And then I even find out when we're tuned in, it doesn't even matter what really worked for us, because now you're getting information that's going to be beneficial for them, whether they choose to use it at that time or not. And that we go back to planting seeds. We're planting seeds.
And like you said, it's not that we are better than anybody else, or we are on a higher level than anybody else. So there's always somebody more advanced than you. So if if we talked about science, it's interesting, but I'm not knowledgeable in it, right? So I'm going to seek a scientist to help guide me. So there are people that are more advanced in their spirituality, and personal development, personal growth, self-discovery, their intuitive abilities. And so those are the people that are helping me level up in myself. And then there's people that would be comparable to where we're at, where we're all growing together. I mean, we're all growing together. Everybody's growing, right? But we're at this space where we're like Bev and I, we come every week and we have these conversations and we bounce off information off each other. And we're in a space where we're walking side by side, so to speak, right? We're holding hands and walking side by side. And then there's the people who are just stepping onto a journey of whatever we're talking about, and they're learning about the information. And so they might listen to us and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else that are all in that same similar conversations. And so that they're gathering the information they need so that they can level up with themselves. And then they're going to be an example for the person who's just stepping on the path and say, come on, this is what worked for me. So this is what we got to understand, is that we're all growing in some way. Even the people who don't seem like they're doing anything, there's something in them that's helping them expand. And it may not be visible to us, but it's not necessarily has to be that. We don't need to see it because that's for them. And what I always say is do and be better, right? When you know better, you do better. So it's gathering information about myself to recognize I could have handled that better. I could have said this better. I could have raised my vibration a little more. I could have been more loving or compassionate, and I wasn't. So it doesn't mean I'm going to beat myself up over it. I'm going to say, this is what I did. This is how I showed up. I could have done better. Now I have that information. Now moving forward, I'm going to do better. And the better I get, the better and of example I am for others. And the more I grow, the better I am for those who are stepping onto this path of personal growth and personal development and spirituality and all this stuff. So it's important that I continue to grow within myself so that I can help others along the way. And it doesn't mean I'm better than you, because you know what, Bev might learn something I had no idea about. I wasn't even in my experience. And she's like, oh my God, you got to hear this. And I'll be like, okay, what is it? Right. And be open to receiving that information in a direction from it, in a way that I can receive it. So.
Which is great. That's all great. It really is. And that just, like you said, it just boils down to listening. And there's too many things out there these days that are free, which we've mentioned. There's like YouTubes, there's podcasts, there's all this information. I was just thinking as you were saying stuff like that too, we've got all this information that's available to us. We don't have to still be in the same place. We don't have to keep doing the same things. We don't have to be on autopilot. none of those things. If you didn't have an experience of a nurturing family or love and guidance and, you know, the way that you feel like you could have, you can go on to YouTube. You can look up, God, there used to be a show on that was something about the nanny, not the nanny with Fran Drescher, but the nanny that would actually come into these live
Oh yeah.
people's problems and stuff, and the child would be out of control. And it's like he'd watch and like, I'll whoop that kid's ass. And but then you look back and you see how the nanny handles it because she's going at a higher vibration, I would say. And she can see things, you know, sees what's really going on, that the child needs attention or that, you know, whatever this is, stuff is going on, and they present new information. We have too much available to us to, I say too much meaning that we're doing a disservice to ourselves by not utilizing all this information that's there so we can get new tools. Because there's nothing that says that we have to continue operating the same way that we have, because that's what we know. We're all growing together, and this is an awesome, beautiful place to be at, because we're saying that it's not okay for me to stay in this place anymore, because there's so much out there. There's so much that's available to me. All we have to do is have that desire. I just want to change, and then be open to however it shows up for you.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly. And be okay with growing and leveling up, and honor that, and be okay that others are where they're at with themselves.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah. So when I decided to step on the spirituality path and the growth path, all personal development, I'm like, everybody needs to hear this. Everybody should know this stuff. What is wrong with these people? They're not getting it, right? Even like mainly the people that are in my immediate experience. And I would get so frustrated and so I would get so wrapped up in them not doing it than I was in my new journey. And so I was very distracted and irritated. And each and every one of us is where we're at. End of story. We are where we're at. And your spirit, you are listening to your spirit because your spirit is nudging you to do something different. Their spirit is nudging them to do something different, but they're just not ready to hear it. They're not ready to listen. They don't like change. The fear of the unknown, all the stuff, right? All the stuff. And they're not ready to, if they're walking in this direction, they're not ready to take a step over. Just one little step over to a different path. But you were. If you weren't, you wouldn't be listening to us. But you were ready to make that step because you knew and you could feel it, and you were more tuned in and you were listening more to your body, that something different needed to happen. And so you took that step. That shift, that change, that was for you. And now being on that journey for yourself, you get to be an example. Don't even need to be teaching. Just because you're reading a book, or meditating every day, or avoiding or not engaging in lower vibrational conversations, like you are being the example by making those choices of doing something different. And people recognize it, and they will start asking you, what are you doing? I want that. And until they ask, until they give some kind of interest, don't bother. You just leave it where it is, and you continue your journey. They're going to continue their journey, and whether that means that they're going to stay the way they were, we just love them where they're at. Love them where they're at, because they're going to make a shift when they're ready. And really, it may not be in this lifetime.
And that's okay.
And that's okay, because their life journey is for their spiritual growth, their expansion, their learning. And it is not for us to dive into it and understand it and make it our mission to help them understand it. It is when they're ready, we can keep planting seeds, but we can't push. We can't
Yeah.
shove. We can't grab them by the head and just shake them.
No, because that's what I tried. And it's like, no, and I would never have heard the information if someone came and vomited all that information on me, but that I was
did.
doing.
How many times?
Me too. I mean, not on me. I mean, not never. I don't ever feel like it was being pushed on me, but I was doing the same exact thing that you were talking about. I was doing the same thing. And instead of me honoring and loving and being like, wow, I'm at this different place where this stuff is making sense to me. And this is so freaking exciting right now. I wasn't living in that moment and feeling all that emotion about how wonderful this is. I was like, I was the pusher. I was like that spiritual pusher, like, man,
Yeah.
like how can you not understand this? This makes perfect sense because I was ready for that information. So
Yeah,
it's like,
if we were in the caveman days, we'd grab them by the hair and go, come on.
that's right. You're gonna hear this. Yeah. And then still only taking whatever they could take in.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome thing to be in the place that we are now that I can look back at those times, because I was really pushy and I would get so irritated. Like, how are you not, like, I just gave you a bunch of shit that can solve all your fucking problems and you're not even listening to me. Well, they couldn't hear it from where they were at. It wasn't that they didn't do anything wrong. I was being an asshole by trying to push the information instead of, like I said, instead of appreciating, like, wow, this doesn't make sense to everybody, but it makes sense to me right now. And the more that I listen to this stuff, they're going to hear whatever they can hear. And it slowly builds up a momentum that gets them in the direction wherever they're planning on going, whether it's here or not here.
Yeah. Because when you're planting seeds, that means that they're hearing it from other people or other resources as well. And they're getting it from many directions. But because that stuff comes to us when we're asking for it. And it may not be a verbal conversation, it's an internal conversation. And it's coming to us, and people and books and videos are planting the seeds and lighting a path. But we still have to take that step from here to here, right? And that is the same for everybody else on the planet. Everybody else. So you may not agree with their ways, but that doesn't mean you have to make it your mission to change them or hang out with them or converse with them or believe like they do. It means you've recognized what you don't like and now focus on what you do like and what does feel good and keep moving in that direction.
Yeah, it's
And
a personal
journey. And you will develop relationships with people who are like-minded, right? Like attracts like. So release the fear of releasing any ties to people that you're used to being around, because when you move in this different direction that feels good, then you're going to be around people that help you feel good, or that feels good to be around them. So, and I just want to hit on that your new year can start at any moment.
Oh, yes.
You don't have to wait till midnight, January 1st of every year to start over. Your new year starts when you decide that starts. It could be in April, it could be in September, doesn't matter. When do you want that to start? When is your spirit? How strongly is your spirit calling you to do something different? And are you ready to listen?
Absolutely.
So there you have it. Our end of the year words of wisdom on Tea Time with Amie and Bev. You're welcome.
Very good. Very good talk.
So we thank you. We thank you for your time. We thank you for your energy. We know the time that you've spent listening to us is not time you can get back. So we are honored that you would spend it with us, whether it's live or with the replay. You can connect with us through YouTube and other platforms like Facebook. We're on Facebook. So Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and email. So email is amieandbev@gmail.com. We would love to hear your comments, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, doesn't matter to us. You're welcome to your own opinions and your own words. If there's anything you would like for us to talk about, you can send us a shout out through email. Yeah. Any closing words for the year end of 2021?
Enjoy your journey. That's what I have. It's really just to take the time to enjoy your journey, appreciate your journey.
And you are okay.
That's right. You're perfect. You're perfectly you.
That's it. We're all unique energies of this universe, and you are okay. So thank you for being here with us. All right, my friends. What?
I said, and we'll see you next year.
That's it. Thank you, my friends. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2022.
Bye.